Hello guys, look who's here. Oh no, Jimmy, don't have a cough. Oh no, he has a cough. I'm sorry I upset you, little boy. So remember I asked you if you wanted to hear my book recommendations, and a lot of you said that you really wanted to see what kind of books I read, so this is the video that you requested. I hope that you'll enjoy. I like books that make you think a lot, and these books are exactly like that. And if you have any book recommendations for me, then please let me know, because I'm always looking for interesting books to read. And so let's get started. So unfortunately I don't have most of these books, in physical form, because I use an e-reader to read them, because we like moving, abroad from time to time. So I learned to really minimize my purchases of real books and just to stick to e-books, because they're easier to transport and I can always keep them close to my heart wherever I am. So my favorite kind of books to read are everything to do with improving my mind, about spirituality, about self-analysis, about motivation, just improving myself spiritually and also in terms of my mind as much as I can. I just feel like I'm really growing when I read that kind of books. And I found two amazing books recently from an author called Tony Robbins, and you might have already heard of him because he's huge in America, he's super famous. And I read two of his books, and the first one was Unlimited Power, and the second one, Awaken the Giant Within Yourself. And they're both amazing, and they're quite different, because the Unlimited Power, at least the first half, is quite scientific. Well, you can't say scientific, but it's quite heavy and technical. But then the second half is really interesting, and it's full of amazing exercises and amazing techniques to make yourself better in all the ways. But the Awaken the Giant Within Yourself is really my favorite, because it was so motivational and inspirational. It really makes you feel like everything is possible. You just have to visualize it, you have to work really hard on it, believe in yourself, because if you don't, nobody else will. And it's a book that I think every single person who wants to be successful at anything in their lives should have on their shelf, because it's a book that you will come back to from time to time, and you will always find something new, and I just think it's amazing. Talking about improving yourself, there's also a book I read very recently that I really enjoyed a lot, and it's actually in Spanish. I'm not sure if you can find it in English, but I will check and I will put it down in the description box. But it's by Carmela Paris, and it's called 12 Pasos hacia la Felicidad, which basically means 12 steps towards the happiness. And I just think it's so amazing, because it gives you all the actions you can do today, starting from today, in order to become happy. And it talks about all the different aspects, and from nutrition to meditation, exercises, letting go of your past, letting go of your resentment, your anger, anything, about finding what you really want to do in your life and having the courage to do it. So if you speak Spanish, it's definitely the book to read. It's amazing. Another book that I read recently that is also in Spanish, and I hope that it's also in English. I will have a look, because it's one of the most interesting books I've ever read as well. And it's by Jorge Bucay, and I think he's from Argentina. He's a psychiatrist. For some reason I just love books written by psychiatrists. I don't know why. But it's really interesting. Actually, it's a psychologist, sorry. But it's basically letters written to a young ex-patient. And he is already a mature man writing to a young girl, sharing all of his learnings about life, about love, about success, about expectations from parents, about so many different things. It's very much about self-analysis, and it just makes me think so much. And one thing that really stood out for me in this book, he said something about love. If you're just passionate about somebody but you don't really love them, you will want to have them, you'll be possessive. You'll want to have them for yourself all the time, no matter what. You'll be jealous and so on. And you'll try to cut the wings so they can't fly without you. Instead, if you love a person, you'll give them wings so they can fly with or without you. You just want them happy. And that's exactly what I think of love as well. It's just such a beautiful book. If you read in Spanish, look it up. Continuing on the psychology topic, there are other two books which I'm kind of going to speak about at the same time, because they are similar and they kind of complement each other. And I read these when I was still in London, and they were actually in the reading list of the kind of management program I was doing that time. And I read them because I really wanted to learn how to, lead my team better, and I found them amazingly useful for my, for my life, for everything. And one of them is called Games People Play, and the other one is called I'm Happy, You're Happy, and I'll put both of the titles down in the description box. But they're really, really amazing because they make you understand how everything that happens, and all the interaction that happens in our daily life, it's games. It's mostly games. There are not many people that don't play games when they communicate with each other. They can be games with your partner, with your friends, with your colleagues, with just people on the street, with anybody. And the book lists all those different games, the descriptions, what they look like, and also gives you tools, how you can manage them and how you can neutralize them or stop them. Because life should not be full of games. And so if we see them, we should find ways to stop them. So that's really, really useful for convincing people to do things that you want them to do, for getting over an argument with somebody, for getting a promotion or getting a better salary, for, for being happier in your relationship with your husband or wife, for anything really. Is such a useful book. And the other one, I'm Happy, You're Happy as well, is a very similar book. And I also loved how it explained that when somebody is shouting at you, is hurting you, is treating you bad, you need to understand that there's a small child inside that person who's scared. And if you are shouting back at them, they're just gonna get more scared and they'll be shouting even more. And after that, whenever somebody is treating me bad, I can't really get angry anymore because I just look at them and I see that little child who's looking for help, who's really lost. In each person, there's a child, there's an adult, and there's a parent. We always carry all these three parts, but we have to find a way to be an adult most of the time, because a parent is basically just an influence of your parents, and then the child is basically just that scared little child that makes all kinds of irrational decisions. But the adult is really the wise adult human. But we all have all of them, and we have to accept them and to learn how to deal with them. So really, really awesome books. You definitely should read them if you are interested in having better communication with people. Now moving on from psychology to becoming rich and dealing with money, I guess. I really love reading about that too, because I don't think that money is the most important thing, but it is important in order to be free and to enjoy life as much as possible. And two books that stand out for me are The Rich Dad Poor Dad is by Robert Kiyosaki. It's a super, super famous book. You probably have already read it, but it was definitely one of the most life-changing books of my life that made me do some things that I still think were some of the most amazing things I've done. Has definitely made my life so much better. Money is not a scarce resource. It's abundant. It's everywhere. All you have to do is open your eyes and learn to use those opportunities in the best way possible. It's totally true, because I've had moments where everything seemed so dark, like there was no light at the end of the tunnel. I couldn't see a way out and everything seemed totally wrong. And then just talking to inspiring people and just training myself to open up my eyes again, I was seeing opportunities that have always been there, but because I was in such a bad state, I wasn't even noticing them. So for me, it's a proof that opportunities are always there, but it's all up to your mind to either notice them or not notice them. So definitely a great book if you are looking for a way to become free and to become wealthy in the best possible way. And the next book about a similar topic is called The Millionaire Next Door. And it's based on statistics about the millionaires in America, and to me it was really life-changing, because you might imagine that, a millionaire is somebody with a brand new car, an expensive house, and expensive clothes, and expensive holidays, and all of these show-off things. But in reality, most of the millionaires in America, according to these statistics studies, are actually living in very, very simple homes, in very simple neighborhoods. They were using, I think on average, a 7-year-old car, and they were really quite careful with the money, and just proves that if you treat the money well, if you really respect it, it will respect you back and it will come to you. This is such an eye-opening read. And also, if you are looking for ways to become wealthy, then it's also great to to read, to understand their habits, what they do, how they do, to in order to be able to model them, because modeling successful people is the best way to find success yourself. Now, in terms of nutrition, I've read hundreds and hundreds of books, but to be honest, I don't really want to mention most of them because a lot of them advocate certain kinds of diets. They have some kind of interest behind them, some kind of products behind them. I don't really want to talk about any of them because they're all kind of similar. But there are two that really stand out for me. And one of them is a book that I read very recently, but I've actually heard about it a long time ago from a lovely Polish family that came to visit us, and they told us about this book. And a few weeks ago I actually saw a magazine that came with this book for just a couple more euros, so I had to get it because I've always wanted to read this book. And it was in Spanish, so it was perfect, so I could, practice my Spanish. But it's a very famous book, so you can get it in English too. And it's by Dr. David Servan Schreiber. And it's called Anti-Cancer, The New Way of Life, and the cover looks like this. It's a wonderful, wonderful book. It doesn't really tell you, in a very kind of dictatorship way of what you should do and how you should eat, but it just explains how all the different processes in the body work, how a disease is born, how it develops, and what you can do to prevent it, or if you already have it, to help cure it. It's such a useful book, and I've read hundreds of nutrition and health books, okay, but this book still taught me so much. There were so many different studies, and I just love how scientific it is. This doctor himself had a brain tumor, but he's now been alive for more than 16 years and he's very healthy, and I just simply love it. This book is about everything: nutrition, about exercising, relaxation, meditation, and because this guy is a psychiatrist himself, he also talks about the mind, about spirituality, the whole package really, and it's really so interesting. And for me it's important because I've been surrounded by cancer all my life, really, the family and close family, friends. So because of that, it's always been one of the most important things for me to find ways to keep myself healthy, to hopefully prevent it from ever coming to my life, and to also help other people do the same, spread the healthy message. So this book is definitely a great book to read yourself, and also to give as a gift to somebody who is going through cancer or any kind of serious chronic illness, because that's what cancer is really. It's a chronic illness. And one thing that really stood out for me, this doctor, he spent some time in Tibet, in the capital, and he stayed in the house of the Dalai Lama's brother, so quite important and wise people up there. And he saw that there was a traditional Tibetan hospital, and not hospital, but there were a lot of traditional Tibetan practitioners, and there was also a modern hospital with all the modern Western treatments. And he was thinking, how do these people decide which hospital to choose? He couldn't get it. So he asked these wise people, in the elite of Tibet, he asked them, what do you do? Which hospital do you choose? And they said, but come on, that's so obvious. There's nothing to think about, really. If you have some kind of a trauma or something acute, of course you go to the Western medicine, because that's what they're good at dealing with all kinds of shocks, traumas, and acute illnesses. They're brilliant at that. But if you have something chronic, like cardiovascular diseases, like arthritis, like cancer, like acne, or anything like that, of course you go to the Tibetan medicine, because they are going to fix it long term and it will work forever. If you go to the Western medicine, they might just mask the symptoms for a while, but the illness will come back. So for me, that was one of the wisest things I've ever read. I just think it makes so much sense. So definitely read it if you are suffering from any kind of chronic illnesses yourself. It's a great read. So I hope that you enjoyed this video, and as I said before, if you have any kind of recommendations from me, then please share them below in the comments. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!